government holding a private convention here in the United States. One of the people in attendance at this secret meeting was Judith Varney Shorer. She's a former Israeli consul general who was operating out of Atlanta. She was one of the main people saying that the biggest problem that they had was young black people in the United States. But don't worry, they've got some black leaders on the payroll.
The major problem of Israel is with the young generation of the black community. The problem of Israel is with the young generation of the black community. Black is with the young generation of the black community.
This was an Israeli government official who was saying this. Not some low-level operative or some rogue member of their diplomatic corps. This was a senior member of their administrative government who was saying this on American soil. Their biggest problem wasn't Hamas or Hezbollah or the Palestinian Authority or Syria or even Iran. She said that Israel's biggest problem was young black people in the United States.
Double honors to the apostles of Ellsmere, Millstone, peace, citation, hope for elect, shalom. And as you can see in the previous video, an Israeli government official, which happens to be a senior member or a general within that department, she mentioned that how the biggest problem, it wasn't really Hamas or wasn't anything with the Ishmaelites, which they're having war with physically. She pretty much mentioned that the main problem is Jake and, so-called black communities, and as well as Hispanic and Native American people too. But mainly she's referring to, the head, which is Judah, so-called black community. Because one thing when it's coming to so-called black people, we're the leader of the nation of Israel, like you got Judah, Benjamin, Levi, the top 3 tribes in the southern kingdom. They're the leader of the whole nation of Israel, starting with the head, which is Judah. And it says in Genesis chapter 49, verse 8, it says, Judah is a lion's whelp. From the prey, my son, thou art gone up. He stooped down, he couched as a lion, and as an old lion, who shall rouse him up? Right, and how did our people stoop down over the years? You had it to where Esau pushed for the feminism to be in our communities, using the CIA agent like Gloria Steinem, pushing that amongst our communities. They also went as far as pushing like with the welfare system, so that pretty much went hand in hand with feminism, because it gave women the liberty to kick a man out the house and get more money on top of it. So it pretty much gave women the opportunity to compete with their man, and it made her feel like she don't need a man, And then another thing too is that they also pushed the crack epidemic in our community, pushing drugs in our community. That's how they kept the gang separated, messing up the music industry by having Jake pushing and promoting violence, So these are all the things that Esau has done to pretty much prolong his rulership. Because once they see our people rising up, they're going to know for a fact that our people is eventually going to overcome them. And I almost forgot, even the LGBTQ itself, that definitely is how our people stoop down, because it came to the point where our people are now just to the face of LGBTQ. They're almost doing it better than Edomites in a way, and they're pushing it way heavier than Edomites are. See, at one point, being a sodomite was literally looked down upon in Jake's communities, especially even in the Christian churches. Now you have it to where Christian churches are being all-inclusive, because they're doing it to keep their 501c3 charter, and they're just pushing it because ultimately that brings more attendance in their churches when you have people with a worldly mentality to attend their churches. But other than that, pretty much our people has like stooped down counts as the old lion, because also Esau has pretty much kept our people divided against each other, right? And at the same time, Esau has also given them gifts that destroy their heart, trying to have them chase after this American dream, which is pretty much an illusion. And our people will do anything, even if it means that they will increase hell upon each other just so that they could live out that dream. So if anything, they'll be twice as worse than the white man amongst their own people just to live out that dream. And that pretty much kept our people in a mind state of having their head up the so-called white man's ass, And it's been far too long that those things been going on. And it says, who shall rouse him up? So the Most High is the one that's rising us up, spiritually and even carnally, But even during the time when you look at the civil rights movement, our people was rising up like carnally, but at the same time, the Lord wasn't really with that movement because it was carnal. But at least the good point is that everybody, knew who the enemy was, that the so-called white man was the enemy. That's why Esau had to slither in as a serpent to try to find a deceptive way on how to destroy us. Not by coming out and showing that he's a devil, but he had to keep it low-key to deceive us. And they always say the worst enemy is the one that doesn't show that he's an enemy right off the bat. And this time our people are starting to rise up again, And I'm talking about spiritually because ultimately this truth, ever since Abba Bivin started teaching this word, in the late 1960s, that pretty much started putting these other nations in fear because they wanted to keep this truth hidden from us. And they spent billions of dollars to keep this truth hidden from us too. In Revelations 11:8, and it's the scripture talking about our people, in a dead state of mind, because according to Ezekiel 37, we were those dry bones. Us not knowing who we were, us following after the tree of knowledge of good and evil, following after the ways and customs of the other nations. And it says, Revelation 11:8, and their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city, which is spiritually called Sodom and Egypt, where also our Lord was crucified. Talking about how the Lord's image was pretty much whitewashed. So it says in verse 9, and they of the people and kindreds and tongues and nations shall see their dead bodies 3 days and a half, and shall not suffer their dead bodies to be put in graves. And verse 11 says, and after 3 days and a half, the spirit of life from Yahweh entered into them. And that's talking about the 3 days and a half, that 350-year time period. And it says, and they stood upon their feet, and great fear fell upon them which saw them. Yeah, the point is in verse 11 basically as well. So it shows that great fear has fallen upon these other nations, especially mainly the Amalekites, because they're starting to see, a rise in more Israelites, teaching, more brothers waking up to who they are, going out in the street corners and teaching. And they ultimately know that's leading to the downfall of their kingdom. The more Jake wakes up to who they are, is leading to a lot of end time prophecies to be fulfilled. In Matthew chapter 24, verse 14, it says, and this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come. And that gospel is talking about this truth. It ain't talking about no stupid Christianity, because Christianity been around the world for how long? For about thousands of years. We would have been seeing the end if that was the truth. And that's how honestly speaking, that this is how powerful this truth is. But the more brothers pick up, the more brothers be teaching, the more brothers be out there, mostly prophesying on the street corners. That's the heaviest way that we're bringing down this kingdom, spiritually. Because if you have an Israeli top government official that literally said that the worst problem that they have at hand is Jake in America mainly waking up to who they are. You know, that tells you everything right there. And they know for a fact that when our people wake up to who they are and they're starting to ultimately be a doer of the word instead of, being a hearer, that's really starting to cause a lot of prophecies in the Bible to be fulfilled. Another point I would like to also make is that this is how like, just for even that government official for even saying that, when it's coming to, having weapons and guns and things of that nature, you best believe our people don't even have access to that hardly. Because of course the average Edomite could own way more guns and weaponry than the Jake could own. And the Edomite will obviously get away with it if he owns it illegally. And ultimately our true power is, is spiritual. Us believing in the names Yahweh, Bashem, Yahushai, and also, doing the works and things of that nature. And that's what's really pissing off Esau and pretty much these other nations as well. And the scriptures also promise how the Lord will always have war with Amalek from generation to generation. And now it's getting to the point where, these devils, especially these Amalekites, are out of all. They're mainly being exposed for all the wickedness that they're doing to the earth. You best believe they're going to take the world down with it, when they realize that a lot of people are going to come against these Amalekites, which they're already doing. And it pretty much shows you that they're not the chosen people. Because if they were the chosen people, they wouldn't be going through these type of issues. They wouldn't be having situations where people are trying to, slander them, curse them out, or even trying to attack them. But yeah, that's it on that. Didn't want to make the lesson longer than it should have been, so just keep it, straight to the point. And with that, I hope you made this in the final. Give all glory, praise, and honor to Adonai, Yahweh, Bashem, Shalom, Yahweh, Shah, Bashem, Kakadash, the balance of the apostle, Ellsbury, Millstone, peace, sensation, Shalom.